Hey guys, this is Squiddyvon, and welcome back to dotGameTV. In this video, we'll be continuing my full breakdown of the Starfield gameplay shown at Microsoft's Xbox June showcase, with part 6 taking a look at spaceship flying and space combat. Make sure to check out the earlier videos in this series. There's a playlist on my channel page so you can easily watch them all in one shot. Also make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you won't miss the remaining parts of my full breakdown series or any other Starfield content. Okay, so spaceships. Spaceships in Starfield are essentially mobile outposts. They not only transport you, but you can walk around in them, you can do crafting and research in them, and you can interact with NPCs and undoubtedly a host of other activities. Ships have extremely detailed interiors with tons of customizable layouts and modules, as I talked about in part 5 of my full breakdown series. So as we take off from the surface of a planet, we get a nice animation taking us through the atmosphere and into space. Very similar to the landings we've seen to both Crete and New Atlantis during earlier parts of the gameplay. While the animation is perfectly okay, I do hope there is some variance to these animations so it feels a little more unique each time. I think just changing the camera angles from time to time would do a lot for keeping things fresh. As we make our way to the cockpit out in space, you can see in the lower left we have our power distribution for lasers, ballistics, missiles, as well as engines, shields, and gravity. Now the maximum power that these systems will be able to handle will depend on the ship modules and configuration we choose during the shipbuilding process, so the way you design your ship will have very real consequences when it comes to how it performs. We also have the charge/ammo capacity for each weapon type in the heads-up display in the middle of the screen, as well as speed and a gauge showing boost. We can also see hull integrity on the right. The heads-up display reminds me a lot of the interface Elite Dangerous had, which if we get anything close to that flying experience, I think we're going to be in for a treat. I've got to say, space looks pretty beautiful, and some of the rendering here of the distant bodies is beyond what I ever thought I'd see in a Bethesda title. The lens flare and intense brightness of the light sources make the entire scene look extremely immersive. One other thing I absolutely love is the sound design. The spaceship has some real heft to it. It almost sounds like a submarine, with loud bows and deep mechanical thuds. I think it's really on point for the aesthetic of ships that they've chosen in the game. Space combat also looks pretty good. It's fairly simple with familiar mechanics like lock-on, and we can see we are notified when enemies are locked onto us, so hopefully we'll have some way of dodging or countermeasuring the incoming missiles. In an interview with IGN, Todd Howard said the pacing of space combat was more similar to MechWarrior than maybe some games with faster-paced dogfighting. Now, I've never played a MechWarrior game, so I'm not sure if this is a good thing or a bad thing. If you've played a MechWarrior game before, let me know in the comments your experience and how you think that might translate to Starfield. Regardless of the pace, I wouldn't go expecting quite the same complicated spaceflight you'll see in games like Star Citizen, but I think a more arcadey, fun-to-play experience will be just fine in a game like Starfield. We'll have to wait and see how it feels, but it looks pretty awesome visually. You can even see the individual modules flying off the ships that are destroyed. The detail is definitely there. It looks like we'll get a nice variety of space environments to explore, but we still don't know if we'll be able to go essentially wherever we want, or if there are only set areas like orbiting planets or points of interest that we'll get to explore. We get to see a few more asteroid fields and planets shown off, and another thing I've noticed about Starfield is it has some extremely hazy space. I do hope there are some areas that might be a little blacker, and they'll turn the lens flare down just a little bit so it doesn't look so gaseous in the vacuum of space. We also see that we can dock onto other spacecraft or space stations, and Todd even confirmed that we can steal spaceships. I can totally see the appeal of disabling an enemy ship and then boarding the ship to take it by force. It's like reenacting a Star Trek episode. You can also see in this shot when we're docked, we have the options of undocking, getting up to move about our ship, and boarding the craft. We can also see a little information about the ship we're docked to, including the status of flight, weapon, and life support systems on board. Overall, I think space flight and space combat in Starfield look like a really cool addition to the Bethesda formula. And I think if you were to look at this footage without having watched any of it before, you might even suspect that this was from a completely different game altogether. I also think this is an area of the game with extreme potential for modders, and I expect incredible space stations, crazy combat mods, and I'd be shocked if we don't see a Millennium Falcon and the Enterprise added to the game shortly after release. I'd love to hear what you guys think about spaceship flying and combat in Starfield. Let me know in the comments how you think Starfield's flying will hold up, and what kind of ship you'll be commanding when Starfield releases next year. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and let me know with a like or a dislike if you enjoyed the video. I'm having a great time making this series and interacting with you all, so I hope you guys are enjoying watching just as much as I'm enjoying making. That's all for now, guys. I'll be back again soon with another Starfield video. This is Squiddyvon, and this is dotGameTV.